most people hear Planned Parenthood, they immediately think of abortion, the primary service provided by the organization. According to the California Family Council, there have been 7.6 million abortions provided by Planned Parenthood since its founding in 1916. Killing 7.6 million babies is approximately the same as terminating the population of 9 states: Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Delaware, Rhode Island, Montana, and Maine. Babies all over the nation are being denied their chance at life, and Planned Parenthood is promoting casual sex with the promise of easy disposal. In the 2016-2017 year, there were 321,384 abortions provided to teens and adults alike. This is 321,384 lives that were ended before they had a chance to reach their full potential, before they even had a chance to be born. But some of the biggest and most astounding issues surrounding Planned Parenthood are not only that they provide abortions, which are inhumane and infringe upon the rights of the unborn, but the neglect for sexual safety in all aspects. Planned Parenthood is mostly funded by the government, otherwise known as your taxpayer money. They accept outside donations and funds, but in order to be mostly defunded, our legislators and government leaders must abolish all funding to the organization. Those who advocate for pro-life changes, that is, to ban abortions, often do not call into question the other reasons to defund the organization. While they may provide easy access to reproductive health care services, they are failing to report abuse cases and are providing premature sexual education for children. In addition, there are numerous birth clinics and pregnancy centers all around the world that provide more extensive opportunity and care than a Planned Parenthood clinic and are just as affordable. All funding to Planned Parenthood from our government must cease. Planned Parenthood should be defunded because they are receiving government funds to provide abortions, to provide pornographic sexual education, and are failing to report abuse cases and sex trafficking instances. Good evening. My name is Emily Gaines, and tonight I will be speaking to you on the topic of defunding Planned Parenthood. I would like to introduce my panelist, Ms. Sherry Dom, the Director of Client Services at the Tallahassee Women's Pregnancy Center. Planned Parenthood proudly and boldly displays their mission statement on their website, claiming that they aim to provide comprehensive reproductive and complementary health care services in settings which preserve and protect the essential privacy rights of each individual. But when does upholding privacy become negligence? On several occasions, Planned Parenthood has neglected sexual abuse and sex trafficking instances by not taking proper legal action. According to the Beasley Institute for Health Law and Policy, a part of Loyola University that emphasizes the importance of health law dialogue, first responders or safe places are required to intervene on behalf of trafficking victims and should be provided with the proper training and protocol to spot and assist them. Planned Parenthood is a safe place. In fact, 29.6% of women and girls within the human trafficking system are brought or come to a Planned Parenthood facility, and their abuse cases are not reported, according to a sexual abuse case done by pro-life organization Live Action. They receive abortions without question, without consent from the parent, and there is no option to keep their child because their abuser or trafficker has forced them into the procedure. This forced abortion is not only the abuser's fault, but Planned Parenthood's for refusing to come to the call of action and are to be held responsible as well. Victims do not receive the help they so desperately need, all for the sake of keeping their personal life private. Picture a young 14-year-old girl who has recently become impregnated by an adult male more than twice her age. She may feel panicked or confused and is unquestionably in need of guidance. She has the choice to visit her local hospital, fire station, or any other designated safe place. Planned Parenthood is considered to be one of these safe places and should inquire about her needs and the circumstances regarding her pregnancy. The girl's assigned nurse, as an employee of a mostly government-funded organization that is supposed to exist for the purpose of providing health care and safety for women, should be recording her patient's most key information, including the fact that she is a pregnant minor who may not even realize that what has been done to her is wrong. The nurse should inquire about the age of the male, and if it is over the legal limit regarding relationships, should be contacting law enforcement. However, Planned Parenthood has not taken these steps on multiple occasions. Denise Fairbanks was one of these victims whose case was overlooked, simply to keep the details of her abortion private. According to the May 2007 edition of the Toledo Blade, and a report later done by live action reporter Brian Godstein, a national and state level speechwriter, Denise was sexually abused by her father from the time she was 13 up until age 18. She became impregnated when she was 16, and her father brought her to a Planned Parenthood facility for an abortion. Searching for a way out and trusting that her nurses and counselors would report her situation, Denise told her story to her assigned counselor. Her efforts failed. Planned Parenthood disregarded her plea for help, claiming it was none of their business who the father was, and solely provided the abortion. After Denise's procedure, she was returned right back to her father, right back into the hands of her abuser. Her abuse continued for almost 2 more years, only ending when she confided in her basketball coach, who had her father reported and arrested. Once her father was in custody, Denise went to court, suing Planned Parenthood for failing to report her abuse case. She won and is now working as an advocate for other girls who may not have received the help they were striving for. The cases that are constantly being neglected by Planned Parenthood are numerous, and no matter how strongly the organization tries to refute claims about their lack of protocol, nothing could cover up the inside job done by pro-life organization Live Action. 2 female investigators dressed and acted as though they were coming for an abortion. One undercover investigator said that she was there for support and filmed the encounter with the nurse with her hidden body cam, truly exposing the way Planned Parenthood covers up sexual abuse. The undercover investigator pretending to be pregnant claimed to have a 31-year-old boyfriend, which was considered child rape in the state of Indiana, where the investigation took place.
Might be a lot older, but we don't act that's all that we know. And I act a lot older than I am, so it works out because he might be 17.
I need the age.
He might be 17.
I don't want to know the age. I don't want to know the age.
He might be 17.
Have you had a positive pregnancy test? Okay. And missed a period? Okay, how old are you?
I'm 13.
Okay. In the state of Indiana, you have to have a parent's signature to get an abortion.
And I would like to know who was the stepfather and everything. I want to find out all that stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Because for me, he would be in really big trouble.
Right? Because I don't want to know how old he is. Okay. Okay.
What do you mean?
I don't want to know how old he is. Okay. And
he's not as old. I mean, he might be,
Doesn't
a
matter.
lot older, but he doesn't act a lot older, you know? And I act a lot older than I am, so it works out because
Yeah.
he might be like 30. He's older. But he's not like older, but he's when you, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
But he's not like that.
He's not like,
In the state of Indiana, when anyone has had intercourse and they're age 13 and younger,
I turned almost 14.
it doesn't matter. You're 13.
Okay.
It has to be reported to Child Protective Services. Okay, I didn't hear the age. I don't want to know the age. It could be reported as rape. And that's child abuse.
Oh.
Okay.
So, and I just said, I don't know who the father was, but he's one of the guys at school or something.
Right. Just, you've seen him around, he's 14, he's in your grade and whatever. So, you know what I mean? Okay, so that's that problem solved.
The nurse's deception in a real situation could have elicited results much like Denise Fairbanks' case. Her baby would have been aborted, and the girl would have been subjected to the abuse yet again. The investigations continued, listed on Live Action's website as a series of undercover videos in states such as Iowa, Kentucky, Tennessee, and many more. There is a blatant disregard for victims of abuse, and with one goal in mind: perform the abortion. As a leader and government-focused group that is regardless of one's moral belief about abortion, Planned Parenthood workers should uphold the truth by combating victim circumstance with what the real circumstances of the pregnancy are. Furthermore, Jesus provides us with a severe warning about what should happen if we fail to protect victims. In Matthew 18:6, it says, "But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it is better that a heavy millstone be hung around his neck and that he be drowned in the depths of the sea." God calls us to protect those who have been abused, especially children. When Planned Parenthood encourages young girls to have abortions without parental consent, or denies them the opportunity for escape from their abusive situations, they have not only broken the law, but are corrupting lives. Planned Parenthood workers should be combating abuse with the truth behind victim circumstance, protecting the essential privacy rights of each individual, as their mission statement communicates. Along with the neglected abuse cases, Planned Parenthood advocates for early, frequent sexual education and has for over 100 years. They encourage parents and teachers to explore topics of sexual activity, sexually transmitted disease, and more explicit topics regularly, with young adults and children alike. While some of these topics are important, they do not belong online or in the co-ed classroom. Children should not be exposed to Planned Parenthood curriculum and activities in school or online because their programs provide graphic and unnecessary sexual education, one that is dangerous to the mental health and moral stability of a minor. Children are impressionable. They take samples from things they hear, see, touch, taste, smell, and combine them into ideas and notions about the world around them, about the way things are supposed to be. Planned Parenthood emphasizes the fact that a child should not feel ashamed asking questions about their body or sexuality. This is natural. Children, within reason, should be naturally curious about themselves and their surroundings. They learn with their senses, but they also learn by asking questions. Dr. Carolyn Ross, a nationally known addiction expert and pediatrician, spoke on the early exposure of sexual content and education and the psychological effects it has on kids to online medical journal Psychology Today. She says, even if young children can't understand sex or its role in relationships, The images they see can leave a lasting impression. It's a basic premise of marketing that what we watch, read, and direct our attention towards influences our behavior. This means that when a child or teen reads or watches the online content provided by Planned Parenthood, or is taught the curriculum in a classroom, his brain takes a picture of the inappropriate, explicit content and remembers it. This memory can influence future behavior, as Dr. Ross said, and with the educational tools that Planned Parenthood provides, kids have an easy access to pornographic descriptions, pictures, and can read about premature topics whenever they feel like it. In a lesson plan provided by Planned Parenthood on their website, teachers are told to ask students to talk with a partner of any gender about what it would be like to discuss with one's romantic partner about STDs, safe sex, why some people don't have safe sex, and all that it entails. The verbal lesson follows with a video series with titles such as How to Tell If Someone Definitely Wants to Have Sex. The videos pair with a set of online quizzes and printable worksheets available to all ages. The quiz, also available to all ages, asks about the child's preferred birth control method and how it would affect his sexual activity. While the problem here is not the actually rather helpful advice on birth control, but the fact that it is made into a kid-friendly quiz. Kids should not be worrying about their sexual activity, much less complete an assigned quiz on the subject. According to STOP, a national Christian agency focused on defunding Planned Parenthood and exposing the immorality, the school systems in New England have begun implementing Planned Parenthood's curriculum as early as preschool. In their online article that details this curriculum, they write, according to a Planned Parenthood Family Life Education Guide, which is being pushed in Vermont and other New England states, in co-ed kindergarten classes, children are asked to outline their partner's bodies and verbally label all parts, including genitals. By the time these children get to the 3rd grade, they are asked to make models of reproductive organs using paper cups, ping pong balls, straw, yarn, and cellophane bags. Even more shocking examples are provided by the article. They say, Planned Parenthood of Westchester Incorporated has produced a sexuality education course aimed at preschool children ages 4 through 7. It is titled Straight Talk. This program is clearly a rehash of the Planned Parenthood thinking described earlier. It says, it is perfectly normal of children of about any age to engage in sex play with members of the same or opposite sex. A New England Planned Parenthood curriculum book clearly states that children of this age should be encouraged to engage in sexual exploration, and they push this material as a key concept in their education, starting at 4 years old. This lesson includes videos featuring young children and depicts them touching one another and exploring, according to STOP. Again, Dr. Ross, the national addiction expert and pediatrician, states, not every child who is exposed to sexual content will struggle with an intimacy disorder, but research shows that early exposure to pornography is a risk factor for sex addictions, sexual abuse, and other intimacy disorders. I spoke with Terry Hall, mother, wife of Pastor Matt Hall at Canopy Roads Baptist Church, and science teacher of many years, about the shocking state of Planned Parenthood's beliefs and promotions. After analyzing the Planned Parenthood site, Hall made it clear right from the start that she did not expect to see such pornographic content on the site in general, not just in visual picture form, but in writing and many other forms. She says, I totally failed to think about the fact that not all pornography is visual, nor does it involve naked people. Written pornography and suggestive pornography can be just as potent. It is neither appropriate nor beneficial for this message to be broadcast to anyone who comes to the Planned Parenthood site, whether they ask for such information or not. It is quite apparent from the moment that you enter the home page what the opinions and intentions of Planned Parenthood are: the promotion of sexual relationships of all types. As for the idea that it's Planned Parenthood's duty to put sexual education in schools available to children online, Paul said, The messages of Planned Parenthood are offered openly to any teen with access to the internet, with no regard to the rights and responsibility of their parents to direct the education as they see fit. I agree with her belief that it is a parent's right to decide where, from whom, and when their children should receive their sexual education, and to take up some of the responsibility themselves as primary caretaker. It should not be openly broadcasted or pushed to be used in schools for children and minors of any age. In 1 Corinthians, Paul writes to the church in Corinth and addresses the topic of sexual immorality. Food is meant for the stomach, and the stomach for food, and God will destroy both one or the other. The body is not meant for sexual immorality, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. Our body is a temple for the Lord, and we have the responsibility of taking care of it. The body includes our eyes. What we see and read is filtered through sight to our brains, where we remember it, especially sexual content. This is proven by science, stated in religious texts, and prevalent in our society. Planned Parenthood does not purely provide scientific curriculum, and their descriptions and videos are explicit and unnecessary. It has no place in a classroom or online. With Planned Parenthood pushed as the main resource for reproductive health, the future seems bleak. Victims of abuse will continue to be subjected to the same pains, the same trades they are desperate to escape. Children will continue to have pornographic content fixed in their educational foundations. The unborn will be denied their chance at life, tossed away as if they were no more than a clump of lifeless cells. Planned Parenthood is pushing the agenda that life is disposable, that it is far from sacred, so do whatever makes you feel good. If we continue to allow an organization that is apathetic to victims of abuse, promotes abortion, and is lethargic in all aspects of work and responsibility continue to be funded, the more rising generations will accept the idea of casual sex with the promise of easy disposal. According to a statistic done by Live Action, a pro-life organization, there is one baby killed every 90 seconds by Planned Parenthood. This baby could have been conceived as a result of human trafficking, abuse, or just as a natural result of sexual actions. But each baby is valuable, a perfectly handcrafted life that is just waiting to have its chance in the world. Children are a gift, not a punishment, and should not be viewed as so. The task seems daunting. The idea of defunding the billions of dollars provided each year to Planned Parenthood seems like an obstacle course of legalities and political battles. But it is not impossible. As of recently, President Trump has made efforts in Title X to strip Planned Parenthood of about $60 million worth of federal funding. And while there are still millions that remain, the biggest roadblock to totally defunding Planned Parenthood is simply misconception about abortion and the policies the organization exercises. Many people know plenty about the protests, about the tweets, and about the political platforms surrounding the pro-choice, pro-life argument, but so easily overlook the extent of Planned Parenthood's corruption when the organization acts behind closed doors. The people must realize that there is a change that must be made. For those who know the truth, we must inform, we must educate. Every day, organizations such as Live Action, 40 Days for Life, and many others are gaining support. When you visit the website of Live Action, for instance, at liveaction.org, you are able to sign a petition against Planned Parenthood. You can also donate. Give money to help them create videos that are published on social media that educate about the truth of Planned Parenthood. But in order to spark the change, we must be verbal advocates, fighting for the unborn, for the abuse victims, and for the children. Our actions will domino, falling upon the ears of government leaders and influencers, and eventually ending all cash flow. To change society, we must first change hearts and minds. Planned Parenthood must be defunded, and the cultural norms must change. now. Thank you.
Is it ready? Great job, Emily. Great job. You hit on a lot of very important points, and you made your argument very clear, and you're very passionate about what you talked about. I have a couple questions for you. They kind of relate to each other. One of them is, in your opinion, as you were learning about this organization, and as you were realizing that this organization is made up of people, in the book of James, James talks about we do what we do because we want what we want. Why do you think that in the Planned Parenthood organization, what do you think is the motivation behind the workers, the volunteers, the general public who actually support Planned Parenthood? What do you think is their motivations, or personal motivations?
Well, I talk about this with my family a lot, but I feel like a lot of people have the wrong idea about what the pro-choice, pro-life argument is about. It's not about whether it's the women's choice or the woman's choice to decide what she does with her own body, because she has a life inside of her. It's not her body, but it is attached to her. And I think that what a lot of people in the scientific field and people that like to argue the pro-choice side don't realize is that from the moment of conception, that is a life. And I think that they are physically blinded by their own desires to make money or to have something to argue for.
And a little bit different, but the same idea is, at first we were talking about volunteers in Planned Parenthood, office workers, those types of things. I will say that there is evidence that a lot of them truly believe they're serving women. So they have that in their heart. Like you said, they are physically blinded. They have scales over their eyes. In upper management, okay, the directors, the executive directors, the CEOs of Planned Parenthood, what do you think are their motives? What drives them to continue doing this?
Well, I think for some of them, it's just a job like any other. I know that there is a woman named Abby Johnson who worked in a Planned Parenthood facility, but she had never actually witnessed an abortion. And when she did, it completely shattered everything for her, because she realized that this was actually like killing someone. It wasn't just you go see the doctor, you come out, and everything's better.
That's very good. And I'll just tell you that there's a lot of money to be made by the upper echelon of Planned Parenthood, millions and millions of dollars. And there have been Planned Parenthood directors who, at the age of 28, were made millionaires because they had been a Planned Parenthood director for a few years. So great job in exposing Planned Parenthood, and you are part of a rising tide, and your generation is making a huge difference. So God bless you.
Thank you.
Emily, I have a question for you. You did a great job. Certainly you are passionate about this, and I appreciate that. How do we as a culture, recognizing that Planned Parenthood does have other services that it provides to women and families, how do we make the case that there are better options for women, or for even young men and young women together, to have some of the needs that this place or these places would meet be met better? So in other words, how do we get people to sort of look at other options, and what are some of the other options here in town?
Well, for one, there's the Tallahassee Women's Pregnancy Center, and I think that it's just not pushed in their face as much. There's billboards in Tallahassee supporting abortion, saying that it's part of our health care, and I think that we just need to work a little harder and push that in people's faces, so to speak, as much as Planned Parenthood does. I mean, we need to have walks for life in our community. We need to teach people that there are other options, pregnancy clinics that provide services for men, not just women, that have their doors open, some of them 24 hours.